Listening to the Non-Del Influencers podcast, brought to you by FirstFunding. Join host Matt Coles as he delivers powerful conversations to help non-delegated lenders succeed and scale in today's market.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for joining another episode of the Non-Del Influencers podcast. Very excited to have you here. I'm Matt Coles, National Sales Manager with FirstFunding. Today, I got Gabe Hanby with UWM, Senior Account Executive Team Lead. Hi, Gabe. How are you today?
Doing well, Matt. Appreciate you having me.
No, man. I know you kind of hit me up. You're kind of the impetus for making this go again because you hit me up periodically since we first met about being a guest on here. And I just, when you and I first met, you were on the road in Dallas. Take me through what happened because I know you got a promotion shortly after that. Take me through your evolution at UWM over the last couple months.
Yeah, so I started here right after graduating from Michigan State. Didn't really know what exactly I wanted to do at the time. UWM, our CEO, went to MSU, so I heard a lot about the company. It was close to my hometown where I grew up, and at the time my dad was actually battling cancer. So I wanted to get a job close to home where I could be there for him and my mom at the time. And, it just seemed like a good fit. The campus is 10 minutes from where I grew up, and decided to apply and got the job, and the rest is history. Haven't looked back since. So
you fell into the sales side, and I know you work closely with the crew, the non-delegated guys over there. Take me through what it looks like on a daily basis. You mentioned before we did a little prep on this call that a lot of your clients are non-del these days. What does that look like? How are you talking to your non-del clients? What are you talking to them about today?
Honestly, the big reason most people go non-del with us is just for the flexibility. Got a lot of great warehouse lenders out there. Everyone always considers FirstFunding as like the UWM of the warehouse world, just because you guys make the process so easy. And more so than anything, the flexibility and control. That's why most people are opting to go that route. Especially nowadays, just with compliance restrictions, state audits tightening up more on having different comp on different loans. It definitely gives people a lot more flexibility, and seeing a lot of people transition over to it who haven't already. We do more correspondent loans than any other lender in the country. So make it an easy platform for them, give them a lot of flexibility as well. They can use their own docs, they can use our docs. Most people are on our docs just for compliance reasons and ease of use, and seeing more and more of it every day. Have a couple accounts flipping over correspondent right now as we speak in the process of it.
Well, that's a great segue because I my background, Gabe, I was on the lender side for a while and talking to lenders about moving from that broker to banker. It's not, I don't want to call it a difficult sell, but it's kind of a long sell because you're kind of changing the full philosophy of how they're running their business. What are some of the biggest challenges that you get immediately when you say, hey, you look like you profile as a non-delegated lender? Let's take a look at this. Have you ever talked about it? What are some of the headwinds that you get?
There's definitely always just a fear, like, what's the risk? What's the risk? Am I going to be at risk if something goes wrong? And I think being on the non-del side of things, as opposed to obviously being a fully delegated lender, just gives you that extra layer of protection, especially being set up with the big name lenders that are out there on the wholesale side of things. We have a lot of hard stops in place to protect our clients from a loan ever having issues post-closing, especially the clients who are on our docs. I mean, I've never had an audit issue for any of my non-del clients who are on our docs. They're fully compliant at both the state and federal level. It gives them a lot of peace of mind. But for people who are first getting into it, that's always their big fear. What if I get a loan stuck on my warehouse line? What if you guys aren't able to purchase it? But since we're fully underwriting these files, very, very airtight in terms of compliance.
Yeah, I think that we encountered that same thing, right? On the FirstFunding side, we get, hey, what's the risk, right? And I almost put the question back to them quite a bit. Well, what do you think the risk is? You almost have to dispel some of the rumors that they may have heard in the past about what the risk might be. And I'm kind of in your same seat, right? And one of the things that I always say is you have two people that are very invested in you getting this off your warehouse facility. Me as a warehouse facility provider and the investor. neither one of us are looking really to have this stuck on the warehouse line, and we're kind of masters of trying to figure out the solution if anything ever happens post-closing, which you just pointed out, it rarely does. So with UWM, and I mean, you guys really just do a great job in that space with regards to the non-del lender. What are you seeing as the time frame that it takes somebody from the day that you get the buy-in to the day that they're ready to rock and roll with their first commission?
Honestly, with us, it's super fast. I mean, we just flip a switch over here. It's more so on their end, getting set up with at least one, warehouse lender that is approved with us. FirstFunding being, one of the biggest ones. And from there, as soon as they get their warehouse line set up, it's a flip of the switch. If you reach out to your correspondent advisor over here and let them know, here's our warehouse line, it's set up, this is who it's with. Really, from there, they just flip a switch, and when you register your next loan, instead of just automatically getting registered as a brokered loan, you have the option what channel you're submitting this through, broker or correspondent. They select correspondent, they got their first correspondent loan in with us. So it is very easy. Obviously, depending on how many states you have, what states you're looking to go correspondent in, process is a little bit different, and there's some stuff that needs to be taken care of up front. But I've had accounts get up and running, going from that, making that conversion from the broker side of things to non-del within a matter of a few weeks.
Yeah, us too, right? I mean, the application process, if everyone's dialed in and ready to make it happen, and we can make it happen as quick as 7 to 10 days as well. So, you and I crossed paths, like I said, when you were on the road in Dallas, and you mentioned something earlier about a correspondent advisor. You happen to, we broke bread with one of my favorites, Scott Vinatelli. Always a good time to hang out with Scott over there. Tell me what that relationship looks like on your guys' side. You as the account executive, correspondent advisor, what's that dynamic there?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, I deal with a ton of correspondent accounts, so there's a lot that I am able to do myself. I understand how the pricing works. I understand what they can bake in, what fees they can charge, just from experience working with so many correspondent accounts. But he is really a great advocate for UWM, one, and then two, connections in the industry, connecting people, connecting our clients with different warehouse lenders like yourself, connecting people with different ways of doing things, different process flows within their LOSs. That's really where he steps in the most, and any issues that pop up post-closing, or even it could be just small stuff, changing your holdback, things along those lines. That's more so where he steps in. And they do a great job supporting us and the sales team. And, I reach out to him with questions every single day. How would you handle this call? How would you handle this situation? What are you seeing other accounts doing that have similar business setups to my account, and where's their holdback at? Where's this at? So there is definitely a great person to lean on, just because he sees it from a very broad perspective in terms of the non-del world. So
I would imagine, I haven't had the opportunity to call on lenders with Scott yet, but I'm sure he's pretty dynamic in front of the lender crowd. Give me a couple takeaways that you got from those couple days that you spent on the road together.
Yeah, definitely, especially with process flows, how they're using their LOS, using pros and cons to using their docs versus our docs. He's a wealth of knowledge, that's for sure. And, he deals a lot with some of the biggest accounts at UWM. People are doing 300, 400, 500 units a month with us. So, he really knows what it looks like. And a lot of those accounts started with us as brokers doing 10 loans a month that have grown into what they are now. So, when I've traveled with him, it's always about scaling. How can we scale you guys from where you're at to doing 20 loans a month to 100, or whatever whatever that company's goal is, that owner's goal is. And he does a really good job, especially, connecting with you guys, connecting with other warehouse lenders, getting people's warehouse lines increased based on production and based on loan quality. So learned a ton from him, and that's the fun stuff to do, talking to our clients about scaling a company, not necessarily guidelines or one loan here, there. More so, how are we going to help you guys scale and meet your guys' goals in terms of the unit and volume standpoint.
That is incredibly impressive, and I want to hit on this a little bit, right? So when you're talking about scaling with lenders these days, you're providing kind of a roadmap almost for them to be like, hey, listen, everyone knows each other's numbers at this point, right? Everyone knows whether you're a 5-unit or 10-unit shop. And I really am impressed with your guys' ability to sit down with a lender and be like, do you want to grow to a 30-person shop or a 30-unit shop or a 100-unit shop? Like, what are your goals? And I would imagine with you and the seat that you're in, you not only have to deal with the loan level problems that come in that on a normal basis, but when you're talking strategy, give me an idea without, naming an account or anything. Give me an idea of like someone who you really have seen blossom in the last, 6 to 12 months underneath the idea of moving from broker to banker and what it did for their production.
Definitely. Really, it just allows, like, more so than anything, the control and flexibility.
Right.
Especially if you're doing refis, doing, for example, VA IRRRLs, FHA streamlines, it gives you that opportunity where if I need to go skinny on this one and make recoup work and pass my VA test, I can. If I'm trying to make full comp on this one, whatever that may be for that different account, then great. More so than anything, just that flexibility, especially it is so important to be correspondent when you're doing a lot of VA loans because of those VA tests, the VA 1% test. You can't just go borrower paid and make 1.5. You've got to make less than 1% if you're going borrower paid in the broker world. So, right. And being able to maximize your comp on every single loan for that reason, and to be able to provide a consistent experience for those borrowers and crank out more marketing, use it for more marketing, more data, more lead buy. That's the biggest advantage for sure. And how I've seen accounts scale from your 10, 15, 20 loans a month up to 100 loans a month.
Well, one of the things that you're doing to help people scale, how involved are you with the e-note process? Are you talking about that, or is that more of the advisors over there?
More so the advisors for sure. I mean, I am familiar with it just because I do have a couple accounts doing both virtual closings. You guys were like the first ones to allow us to start doing that on correspondent loans, which was awesome. And I'm seeing more and more of it, especially as rates tick down and more people are trying to do refis. No one wants to pay a mobile notary fee if they're decent with technology and can do a virtual close from home. So
the e-note process, I mean, it allows the lenders to turn over the line faster. It eliminates all this time of shipping notes and collateral. Several weeks ago, we had an ice storm in Dallas and collateral was delayed. And those type of delays end up costing, a lender a little bit of money here and there, especially on their warehouse facility. So an e-note process eliminates a lot of that, delay, and you can turn over the notes very, very quickly. So as a leader in that space, UWM is doing a fantastic job on that e-note process. And so I would imagine that a lot of your correspondent associates are trying to push that as much as they possibly can with regards to speed and process. I know a little bit about UWM, and speed is important to you guys over there.
Definitely. And like you said, when you have those one-off situations, weather related, mails delayed for whatever it may be, it definitely does make a huge difference in terms of interest on the warehouse line and, getting things turned around as quickly as possible to open up more space.
So take me back. I want to go back to you joined UWM out of Michigan State, and you said you didn't really know much about mortgages. So how did you get tracked into the sales cycle, and what were some of the lessons that you learned along the way to kind of go, okay, this could be going from a job to a career inside of the industry?
Definitely. I mean, it was scary at first just because I didn't even know there was a T in mortgage. I had no mortgage experience. I started directly out of college, but the training here is fantastic. And also just the coworkers and leaders here. I mean, I learned very quickly. We've got clients calling me. A lot of them have been licensed 20, 30 years. It's okay if I don't know the answer. I just need to find where to get it, right? And working with 500 other AEs, correspondent advisors, AVPs, VPs, people with a wealth of knowledge, that's more the best thing you could possibly ask for. We're in the office every single day unless we're on the road traveling for work. So, which is only once a month, once every couple months. So It's just great to be able to lean on people and admit when you don't know something. I think the day where I stopped stressing if I didn't know something and just learned to go lean on someone that's their expertise and that's what they're really good at, and learn from them and steal from them, was the day that the job really started to click for me. And less anxiety about not knowing something, more so knowing where to go look for it, where to find that knowledge, and to be able to give it back to my clients. So.
Well, that's why I really connected with you when we were on the road together. I mean, mortgage was the first job out of college for me. And I remember going to my desk the first day and the phone rang and I had no idea what I was answering, right? And I quickly learned mortgage loan officers and originators along the way, they just want the right answer. They don't necessarily need to answer right away. So I appreciate that about you. And I know we connected on that level in the past. And same goes for anyone trying in sales, right? You know, what I see quite a bit, and you may have been this way too. You know, you learn wholesale, right? You kind of figure your head is wrapped around wholesale. Now it's time to go learn non-del. And now you just have to learn a little bit of a different language and how the process flow goes a little bit different. Take me through what that looked like for you when you got your head wrapped around the wholesale side of things. What was your first endeavor into the non-del side?
Started getting a couple accounts as I got more tenured. They weren't huge accounts or anything like that, but that were correspondent, were non-del. And definitely everyone over here was like, make sure you know what you're talking about, you know, especially pricing wise, just because, you know, if you misquote someone on pricing or misspeak on pricing, that's their comp that's on the line. Yeah. So definitely have to take it a little bit more serious in terms of the pricing and guidance you give them in terms of pricing. But outside of that, I mean, it's really the same platform, at least on UWM's end of things, until you really get to closing and post-closing. Everything's the same, though. Instead of UWM being on the disclosures, if they're on our docs, now their company is on all their disclosures. And outside of putting your discount points in and origination and processing and underwriting fee, it really is the same process with us up until, like I said, closing, post-closing. So that, because we make it so easy, and, you know, basically every single one of my non-del accounts is on our docs at this point. It did make it pretty easy, at least on my side of things. Just had to make sure I wasn't making any mistakes with pricing or comp. That was definitely the biggest and scariest thing at first. But outside of that, the process doesn't change a whole lot, at least on our side of things.
So you have the stable of lenders inside of your book of business now, and you guys are doing great stuff with the non-del clients. Once you get past the headwinds, what are some key points that you try to make to your non-delegated lenders once they get set up? What are some, like, one or two key takeaways where you see that non-del lenders that are successful, where they get launched and they are successful immediately with it? What are one or two takeaways that you see on a consistent basis?
Honestly, I wish I had an example or something specific, a story, but I really don't, just because, at least on our end, and I know it's a lot different with other investors, other lenders. A lot of them you're on your docs up front, but then their CD and their closing package, or, you know, you're on your own docs all the way through that you're generating out of your LOS. But with us and the setup we have, outside of the pricing working differently, not having like a lender paid comp plan or anything like that, it is very, very similar. So don't have like any major takeaways there. More so just getting them comfortable with it, getting them comfortable with how the pricing works, what they are and aren't allowed to do, and making sure they feel comfortable and are set up for success so they're not running into any major roadblocks.
I think one of the things that we're trying to tackle right now is we're trying to get out in front of it, right? I mean, I'm sure March was another record month for UWM with regards to volume. I know we had an amazing month over here at FirstFunding, and we have so many lenders that set up in November, December, January, but they haven't done that first loan activation. They haven't dipped their toe into that process. And so what we're trying to concentrate on our side is like, hey, like, let's make sure that you get going before it gets incredibly busy and you don't have the time to learn. And so that's one of the things that we're very focused on heading into the spring buying season, is going back and relooking at a lot of the lenders that haven't yet quite activated. And you guys do such a great job of staying on top of them, and I know my sales team does as well. Outside of the industry, what's the next step for you? Are you trying to expand your career into something different over there? You got your fast track on sales. Give me an idea what's next for you, Gabe.
Honestly, I'm happy where I'm at right now. I'm currently a team lead, so I got 8 AEs under me, and I'll help support them in their accounts while also working my own book of business. So it's been really good. I've been in this role now for almost a year, having a team underneath me, and it's been fantastic. I really enjoy it, and especially being at UWM, the amount of support and mentorship I received over my first 3 years here before I did become a team lead. It makes it feel really good to give that same support back to my team and to be able to help them, just because I got so much help and support from so many different individuals here when I started. So honestly, I could maybe potentially move up down the road, but I'm happy in the seat I'm in currently. I'm loving it, and that balance between leadership and also managing my own production has been really good. So
I love seeing young people like yourself in the business. It's been my entire career. You and I, when we sat down to dinner, a few months ago, I said the same thing, right? Like it's been my entire career for the last 25 years. Absolutely love it. Started out young and hungry and ready to rock and roll. And I hope I never lose that. I never wanted to move away from sales, right? But as you're growing, you get to go into some management, which it sounds like you're doing right now. Mentorship is always very important. Sounds to me like you have some great mentorship over at UWM. Outside, what are you looking at for a mentor? Do you have somebody from your college or outside a church, maybe whatever it might be? Where do you look for mentorship outside of the UWM world?
definitely have some alumni from MSU who graduated before me that I've just known through connections like in the community I grew up in, who also do business to business sales, some in the mortgage industry, most outside the mortgage industry. And it's always good to lean on them for support, just because it's so different than like being a loan officer where you're working directly with consumers. You know, you and I both, we're working with other companies, other businesses. So it's a lot different approach, a lot different sale. And, you know, people's livelihoods are on the line and their companies are on the line. So, and the relationship my company has with their company is on the line as well, too. So just leaning on people, you know, no one in particular that has been like a main mentor, but I'm always stealing ideas, pitches from people both in and with outside of the industry. So definitely have some great mentors that went to Michigan State with me who are doing business to business and other industries, and that I'll reach out to regularly, like, hey, here's my situation. I know it doesn't directly apply to your industry, but how would you handle this conversation? And you know, I'm always trying to steal stuff from other people because I'm not.
Absolutely, Gabe. I love seeing successful salespeople talk to other people outside of their industry, right? Because we're all selling widgets, right? I mean, whatever the widget is, it could be, and you don't need to know nuance or anything like that. But, you know, I have a good friend who sells industrial doors, right, as an example. And to hear him talk about how he's leveraging his CRM to stay in touch with people. I mean, those are kind of conversations that I just wish more and more salespeople would have outside of the industry to get some fresh perspective and some fresh ideas.
Definitely. And like you said, you know, even though mortgages are pretty niche and specific, there is so much that overlaps with other industries, especially in the B2B space. So whether CRM, technology, like you said.
Yeah, UWM's always an innovator. What's, you know, without giving away too many trade secrets, what's next on the plate for what you guys are doing to connect with more lenders out there going forward?
Honestly, I don't know. We got that UWM Alive event coming up in May. I'm sure you'll be back out there again. Usually we hold off on any huge rollouts up until UWM Live, just because we got 7,000 clients coming out for it.
Wow.
They haven't looped me in on anything yet. Even if they did, I'd get in trouble if I gave any hints away. But you'll know as soon as I do at UWM Live. You're coming out this year?
Yeah, we'll be there. It's always a great event. And we, you know, FirstFunding is always very appreciative of the opportunity to work with the UWM sales crew. You guys got a great crew over there, and we do a lot of good things together. And happy to support you, Gabe. You've been a fantastic partner for non-del lenders out there. I'm so impressed with your career growth and where you're headed and your trajectory. And I wish you nothing but the best in the year ahead. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to spend time talking non-del influencer on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, and looking forward to seeing you and your team here in a couple months. So,
sounds good. Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Non-Del Influencers podcast, powered by FirstFunding. For more resources and episodes, visit nondelinfluencers.com.